Good evening, everyone. Testing, testing, one, two, three. Um, Please give me a one in the comments if you hear my voice. So far on the dashboard, it looks like everything's good. I have an excellent connection. And let me see, Zahar's just said, Bigos is good for energy as well as for muscle building and strength. Does fiber system suggest any diet? Um, it's a good question. Yeah, I think Bigos would definitely be on the list. I like Jurek myself, so yeah, hey David. Yeah, I'm sorry about this stupid ads. But yeah, I do need to, at least in some small way, try to earn an income. Uh, yeah, guys. So give me a one in the comments if you are hearing me. Otherwise, let me turn this on. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna assume that. Okay, excellent stuff. So we. Well, thanks, Sachar. Thank you very much. Hey, guys. So welcome everyone. Let me get back to my panel. Okay, audio's working. Everything's good. So good evening, and thank you all for being here. Tonight, the subject is going to be terminology. Now, this is something I discussed with many of you a long time ago. I have a list of words that I was given. Historical Christianity, hello. Oaken, thank you very, very much. Yeah, guys, I really do appreciate it. It makes a real difference. Thank you. Um, yeah, so some time ago, I took some words. However, I'm going to go through those as well a little bit later, but also I'm going to go through a resource that you need to learn. Now, check in the description for everything I'm using. One is obviously Reliance of the Traveler. Two, I'm going to be using mainly the index of what's called the Encyclopedia of Islam. It is the gold standard reference for studying Islam and Islamic terminology, right? It's something like a dictionary as well as an encyclopedia with lots of additional detail if you want to learn something about Islam. Now, okay, so I've got a link to the very first one, and what I can do is afterwards post links to all of the rest so you can download them, use them. They're a very powerful resource. Right. So, guys, let me go to. Okay, I'm gonna pop myself down to the bottom left. Okay, for instance, I want you guys to look at this word rhetoric. If you were watching my show about St. Paul, excellent, David. Thank you. Also, post the link to the Encyclopedia of Islam, Volume 13 index. So, if you watch my show, couple built to speed. Hello, welcome. So, if you watch my show on Thursday with Adam Seeker, and I'll be on Thursday again to discuss St. Paul and the reasons for the attacks on St. Paul, I discussed rhetoric. Right now, of course, there's more than one definition of rhetoric, but if you go to Merriam-Webster, as well as others, many of those will emphasize first that rhetoric is language that is impressive sounding but not meaningful or sincere. And it utilizes here the example of language from, well, political language, right? Politicians. Thanks for posting that Brill Encyclopedia link. Okay, so let's have a look at why this is relevant. Because rhetoric is language that is designed to persuade, designed to convince, designed to impress, designed to sound good, but is not necessarily truthful or honest. It could be deceitful. It could be, well, we'll get to the term embellished. In other words, you've added to it, but we'll get to that. But rhetoric in Islam is a science. Now, understand, from a Western point of view, this is not science. We would never think of it as a science. However, in Islam, it is seen as a science. The science of baffling people with complete, you know the phrase, baffle them with fill in the blank. Okay? So this is a science within Islam. Now notice, in mysticism, the norms of conduct which govern relations between master and disciples, we're going to be covering a lot of mysticism in Islam as well. We're going to touch on that. But look, Adab al-Jadal, in theology and law, a method of debating in which were discussed questions that were controversial. It was not a matter of finding the truth, but of convincing the opponent. So I understood it's a social science, but understand that the only real science in Islam is the science of what Muhammad brought. Right? So everything else is secondary, tertiary, it's forgettable. True science, this is why in Islam they are so far behind the rest of the world in terms of scientific development and scientific output. But that's a discussion for another day. I have some notes on that already. So understand, this is why Muslims tell you, let's have a debate. Let's debate. Because they developed a specific method. Now, we'll dig into this a little bit later as we go. They developed a specific method of debating, utilizing rhetoric to persuade, to convince, not to find the truth, right? But to persuade, to win, winning above all else, right? And notice in military science, the plural form of adab, which is the word above here, is a synonym of hiyal, stratagems in war. Hiyal is the major form of deceit, lying, deception within Islam, right? And it is a war strategy. Okay, so I'm going to close that one. And I want you to just notice briefly, and I will get around to this in the future, even madhabs speak of a way of thinking, persuasion, rhetoric. So it's a school of indoctrination and a school of persuasion as well. So there's a link to all of these things. Now, these definitions I took from the Encyclopedia of Islam, and I'm going to start showing you lots of words from this and show you how they link and how to better understand Islam. So let me see. They try to look religious like the Pharisees to deceive people to Islam. That is true. Looks like you could fill a whole dictionary with Islamic terms meaning deception. Oh, there's many of them. Actually, yes, that's true, Veronica. So a point I want you to remember, and I've said this many times and I'd like to reiterate, the Quran is no longer the major source of knowledge in Islam. Okay? The major source of knowledge in Islam is the ijma, the consensus of the scholars. This consensus tried to make sense of the mess that is the Quran, the hadiths, and all of these opinions and the tafsir and so on. And what happened was, to finally sort this out, they created the Sharia, right, and the fiqh. This is the final source of authority. This is where we find the ijma. Don't forget, Quran abrogates Quran. Quran abrogates hadith. Hadith abrogates Quran. Hadith abrogate hadith. Hadith abrogate Quran. Quran abrogate hadith. No one knows, at least you don't. What are the final verses that are still valid? Well, we can know if we look in the fiqh. That tells us. So, and that's why the Sharia is the most important. But let's look at the terms. So let me close this. And let me start here with, okay, so I'm just going to go to the top. And this is volume 13 of the Encyclopedia of Islam. I'm just going to scroll through it and we'll go phrase by phrase. Right? And we're going to have a look. Let's see. Okay, so notice on the left-hand side here, you can see little yellow notes that I've made, little yellow markers, which tell me a little bit that, well, tell me that I need to look at a word here. So understand, taqiyya means concealment of belief, right? Interesting. This is very helpful. This is not yet into the full dictionary. So now you've got concealment of belief, and I've got another entry down here, and it says deception in law, tahrir. Very interesting. We've just discovered another kind of deception within Islam. Hiyal is another form of deception. I just showed you that one a little earlier, which is a deception in warfare, but hiyal is a much broader form of deception. Hiyal allows you to break any oath, to break any promise, to break any contract, right? And also to break any law, to break your word, in other words. So all Islamic things can be broken. Now, understand, David, it doesn't say that, Lloyd. I know, and because you know, there's taqiyya about taqiyya, right? So look, there's more than one kind of taqiyya. I think from what I've read, from what I can gather, there are at least two kinds of taqiyya. One is to protect your life, which is supposedly a legitimate means developed by the Shia, but also adopted and very much used by the Sunnis, and also called taqiyya by the Sunnis. Although the correct term for taqiyya in Sunni Islam is called mudarat. But to be honest, they just use the word taqiyya as well. But concealment of belief. But notice it doesn't state here for the purposes of saving your life, right? Because it's tactical deception. It is a strategic deception to spread Islam, right? For the benefit of Islam. But this is just showing some additional words within this. We'll get into the dictionary in a minute. Let's have a look here. See another entry? Let's have a look. Now, there's any number of words one could pick, but notice when you go through the Encyclopedia of Islam, we see here the term holy war, jihad. I thought jihad was not holy war, but according to the major academic resource on Islam, holy war is jihad, and jihad is holy war. Now, David says, if you can even lie and break promises and words, how can this be from God? Exactly. We're going to have a look at the definition of Islam as the Deen al-Haq. We're going to have a look at that as well. Now remember, they want you to debate because they have this strategy, this technique of debating utilizing rhetoric, not to find truth, but to convince people. Okay? I really can't imagine myself to live with lies. Exactly. Okay, now homicide, qatl. Remember that word because we're going to come upon this word qatl later when we look at apostasy. Okay? I'm just going to come. Okay, let's have a look down here and see what we have. Murder, homicide, qatl. Okay, excellent. Let's have a look on the next page. Nullity, fasid wa batil. Now, understand that Islam pictures itself as the Deen al-Batil, right? However, Christianity is the Deen. Sorry, Islam pictures itself as the Deen ul-Haq, the religion of truth. Christianity is the Deen al-Batil, right? The Deen al-Batil is the religion of falsehood, the void religion, the worthless religion, religion of no value. Understand? So this is where this relationship will come in. Now, if there are words that you want me to look at later, we'll try and take some of those. So later on, add those, okay? Okay, terms like usul ul-fiqh, principles of jurisprudence, fine and well. I'm going to skip across to a different resource for a moment. So have a look here. This is the Encyclopedia of Islam. I'm looking at the first edition, which was used from 1913 to 1936. There's a second edition, right? There's a third edition, and there is also the online version, of course. Let's look at the Encyclopedia of Islam, second edition. You can do some base. Now, this is on the Brill.com website. Brill is a British company that dates back to something like the 15th or 16th century. So they've been publishing these books for about 600 years, 500 years. So they go around. So you can see here a list of all the terms, and they put out every 2 months, they put out an update. Okay, let me go here. For instance, if you look up Ridda, right? So they speak here of, so they have multiple authors, be it both Muslims, non-Muslims, that write for them, hundreds, thousands of authors. They speak here of, for instance, the plague of Amwas devastated Syria in the 1st or 7th century, right? The 1st century of Islam, 7th century in the West. During the Caliphate of Abu Bakr, the Caliph had sent a series of armies to conquer Syria. Well, Islam doesn't do conquests, but here it does, apparently. Following the Ridda Wars, the apostasy wars that had ensued after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. These campaigns were part of the military effort, the jihad, to extend Allah's revelation all over the known world. Now, of course, we're not supposed to know that jihad means warfare, but according to the best academic resource in the world on Islam, jihad is warfare, right? In a series of engagements, Muslims defeated the Byzantine forces and so on. So understand, if you look through this, you can find lots of support for what these things actually mean. And I want you to have a look here. The Encyclopedia of Islam, if you should buy a copy, it's going to cost you just a fraction under $40,000. Okay, so have a look here. This is $40,000, $39,689. You can rent it for $3,900 a year, and you have to pay an annual fee for updates of $1,237. So you're going to be paying $5,000 a year just to rent this thing, right? This is a very, very serious resource, and they take accuracy very seriously. Although I will say that the Muslims that contribute, in my view, sometimes whitewash the content. So make a note of that. Let me see. Yeah, so correct. So David's saying literally every time Muslims, they are occupied, so we have to back off, but yet they are happy to occupy others. Okay? Okay, right. So I'm going to close this down. Enough of that. Right, let me see if there's anything I missed. No. So let me continue with this exploration of this book. Let's have a look here. Apostasy. Very interesting. An apostate is also called a mulhid or a murtad. See also qatl. Remember, we spoke earlier of qatl being murder, qatl being homicide. So notice Muslims will always tell you, thank you, Dragon. So Muslims will always tell you that, apostasy, Islam doesn't have a death for apostasy law. So why are we coming across this word qatl in connection with al-ridda, which is known as apostasy? And it's also linked to heresy. Now we realize, okay, we need to look up heresy to learn more about this, but apostasy is connected to murtad, connected to the word mulhid, and also with murder. Okay, al-ridda. So let's have a quick look at the definition of apostasy within the Sharia. Okay, qatl is to kill, but certainly there's every Arabic word has one more meanings, two, three meanings. Understand? So they have definitions here for murder as well as others, as I've shown. Okay, so understand. So notice it says you're in the law. Okay, and if Islam, ask yourself this question always: if Islam is a religion of law, what are its laws? Just like Judaism has the Talmud, Islam has the Sharia. It's the Talmud of Islam. And apostasy from Islam, Ridda, section 08.0 in the Reliance of the Traveler. Whoever voluntarily leaves Islam is killed. Period. Okay? And there is no indemnity, no expiation for killing him. There's no penalty for killing him. So let's have a look at Ridda. Let's actually go to the law. So this resource, the Encyclopedia of Islam, the index, really useful, as well as Reliance of the Traveler. The two go together extremely well. They're extremely useful resources. So let's have a look here. Apostasy from Islam, Ridda. So I've just done a search up here, and let's have a look and see what the Islamic law says. Veronica, thank you very much. Okay, mulhid, non-believer from the start. However, what is your resource then, Erkin? We've got to look at different resources. Now, I don't necessarily always believe every resource I read because they might be false. They might leave a fact out. They might add something in that's not true, right? There's always that. So you've got to try and look at different resources, but I'm going to try and stick to just Reliance tonight and the Encyclopedia of Islam, just to look at if these terms and concepts we're looking at, if they actually link up. Apostasy from Islam. Leaving Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief and the worst. It is kufr. It may even come about through sarcasm. But when a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed. Right? This is the ijma ruling. We'll look at the word ijma later as well. This is the consensus ruling of all the schools, of all the scholars of Islam. Okay, so Erkan says, I'm a kafir and a murtad, but not a mulhid. That would be correct if you were once a believer, right? Which is interesting because Islam claims that all souls who are born were Muslim. So you were a believer once at the start. So understand there's a little bit of a conflict there, right? Or contradiction within Islam. So for instance, if a Muslim wants to debate with you, why not ask him, well, to prove to me that you know Islam and are worthy of having a debate or whatever it is, a discussion with me, I want you to show me from your Islamic law, from your fiqh, what the ruling is on apostasy. Show me from the Islamic law. Because unless you can show me a resource that is authoritative and you can show me clearly without ambiguity what the ruling is, then of course you don't know Islam well enough to debate with me. And I'm still waiting for someone to actually show me, because it's illegal for Muslims to show you the Sharia. Understand? It's fully illegal for them to reveal, it's basically treason for them to reveal the Islamic law to you. And in fact, they're not even allowed to know the details of Islamic law. Right, let's go back. Right, so let's go back. So there we go. Let me see, was there anything here? No. So let's continue. Qatl. We'll come across qatl again as we go. Let me continue down. Right. At the end, I will take some questions from words you want, and also I'll go through a list of words and we can look them up and then see what they could mean from a list I've collected from people in the past. So I'm going to go skip quite a gap. Oh, here's something. Okay, something. Now, when you start reading, an example of a mulhid is a Christian, so chief priest said, yeah. Okay, Ali Dawah already openly said he'll be killed and he's proud of that. That is true, but that might just be his opinion. What is his source for that? Right? The source is clearly the Islamic law. right? It's the ijma, the consensus, which is the main authority within Islam, and he needs to show it to us. Okay, so Christian would be al kitab, true, but anyway, so mysticism. So notice when you read through this index, when you read through this little dictionary slash encyclopedia, right? Mysticism, sainthood. Interesting. This is going to come up again later. Notice that the saints in Islam, right? Once you start reading and start making connections, when you can look up sainthood, you will find that sainthood will always be mentioned in connection with the Sufis. Now, your average Muslim will always lie to you and tell you the Sufis have no connection to Islam, the Sufis are nothing to do. Nonsense. The Sufis are the pinnacle of Islam, the top scholars, the absolute cream of the Islamic scholars, right? And to be an Islamic saint is to be a Sufi, because the only saints in Islam are Sufi saints. Okay, let's have a look. Mysticism. Now, when they say mysticism, they refer here to the occult, and in fact, more specifically, Gnostic occultism. But we'll continue because I want to give you a nice long overview of various of these things. Let's have a look down here. Law. Okay, a couple of interesting words. So law refers to numerous words that you may or may not know. Words like adat, dustur, fiqh, ibadat, ijma. Ijma here is the major source of authority. It is the consensus of all the scholars found in the Sharia, found in the fiqh. We've got here qiyas, maqama, Sharia, tashri, a whole bunch of words that you may or may not have known, because within Islam, you're going to find that one scholar will use one word, another scholar uses another word, and sometimes you don't recognize this. You think it's nothing, think it's irrelevant. But there's a bunch of words they could use to describe the same thing, or they might use a word that you're not familiar with, but when you go look it up, you'll learn something incredibly interesting, right? So make a note and look through this and just become familiar with this, right? Browse through this as you have time. Jurisprudence, fatwa, fiqh, ijab, ijma. Again, ijma crops up. Ikhtilaf. What could that be? And of course, taqlid, ikhtilaf. Right, interesting word. So remember, we're just going through a list of associated terms at the moment before we get into the actual dictionary or reference section, right? Ikhtilaf is technically, it just means difference, right? Veronica at the wall says some have 100 words for snow, some have 100 words for twisting the law. Exactly. Hey, Tippy Bear. So, Ikhtilaf is the science of difference, right? Or just difference, the doctrine of difference, because the four schools all have slightly different ideas about certain things. And the differences were harmonized by another scholar. Let's not get into that right now. But Ikhtilaf is how they've harmonized the differences between the schools, because they're all one religion. There is one Islam. These are not four separate religions. The things that they disagree on are minor issues that do not affect the doctrine. Oh, and while I'm on that point, yeah. There was something I forgot to show you, but I'll get into that another time. So, ikhtilaf is about difference, and it's how they resolve the differences between the four schools, which are not critical differences. They're just minor differences. They don't affect the underlying belief in Islam. Okay? Taqlid, that is to follow. Okay? You're a follower. You follow an imam because you need to learn Islam from an imam. But that's a whole story. That's all to do with the whole occult view of you connect from you to your imam, him to his imam, him to his imam to his imam. Remember these isnad chains? These isnad chains back to the source. Muhammad's the source, and Muhammad's connected to Allah. So Allah's holiness flows to Muhammad, Muhammad to the companions to their followers, right? From the followers to an imam, from that imam to his imam, from that imam to his student, from that student to his student, to your imam, to you. These connections, these chains are critical to them, right? That's why you need to follow. You cannot break the chain or you fall outside of the community of the Muslims. Okay, nothing here that's important. Magic. Interesting. Magic. Magic in Islam. Azima. Now, this is very interesting because this word azima here, there are two doctrines, and we will cover this as well within Islam. There are two doctrines within Islam that Muslims follow, right? You've got azma and you have rukhsa. Azima is to do Islam strictly, okay? to do things strictly, to follow the Sharia strictly. So the Muslim on the bridge in London who goes around stabbing people, that person is doing Islam correctly, strictly, by the book. Rukhsa is those who are not following because they're allowed to break the rules. Okay, we'll get into that because we're going to come up from Azima as we go through. But notice it's also a component of Islamic magic. And of course, we don't know a lot about Islamic magic. For some reason, it's not spoken about. Ask yourself why. Martyrdom, shahid, okay, fine and well. We've learned a new word, maybe. Let's look down here. Military. Under military, we see different words. Bakhriya, Jaish, Harb. Okay, Dar al Harb, Jihad. Interesting. So notice there's a bunch of words that we should look up in connection with warfare, right? So jihad is a military term. Okay, Dar al-Harb is a military term. So now we've learned something. We have reason to go and research these words and see what they mean. Let's have a look here. Mysticism, again, connected to sainthood. So these go together constantly. All right, so let me keep going forward. Sainthood. Maulid, saints, the wali. Okay, so maybe you've learned something now about this. Again, connected to mysticism. All the saints in Islam, you'll see then, are mystics. So what kind of mysticism? This is something, it's a little mystery, and we need to start clarifying. Right, have I missed any comments? Let me know. Okay, right, I'll just continue through this. Okay, so let me go here. So now, we've now jumped into the actual reference, the dictionary itself, okay? Abadiya, Abna, you can see up top here. And now let's have a look and start looking at some of these dictionary definitions. Abdal, let's have a look. In mysticism, it is the highest rank in the Sufi hierarchical order of saints. So now you can see that, and this will be repeated over and over, that to be a saint in Islam, you need to be a Sufi. So Sufi must be very important. The Sufis are on the level of what we would say St. Paul, St. Peter, St. John. Understand? And they are mystics. Now, again, they just briefly mentioned mysticism, but you got to ask yourself, what is this mysticism? Right? Let me continue. Nothing here. Let's continue down here. Adab. Now, I showed you this earlier. Adab, a habit, a practical norm of conduct, because Muslims are highly traditional. They follow what came before. In fact, they're required to be carbon copies of what came before them. This is why they must follow taqlid, to follow an imam who tells them what to do. Equivalent to sunnah. So adab is equivalent to sunnah. Excellent. So now you know that there's another word related to sunnah. Okay, a high quality of soul, a good upbringing, right? And also, they speak here of the corresponding sciences of rhetoric. Rhetoric is not a science, but in Islam, it is a science. Okay? Isn't mysticism getting high in caves? Well, yes, Tippy Bear, that is related. Right, so this is an introduction, so I don't want to get too deep into any one thing. But in mysticism, the norms of conduct which govern relations between master and disciples. Who practices this mysticism, this magic, this azma? Well, that would be the Sufis again. In military science, the plural form adab is a synonym of hiyal, stratagems in war. What is hiyal? It is deception, right? It is, technically it's called legal trickery, okay? Legal trickery. Adab, and don't forget, Islam is a theological legal system, right? Again, a method of debating. That's why they want to debate, okay? So they can trick you, but let's continue down here. Addad, opposites, words which have two meanings that are opposite to each other. So maybe they can trick you using words which have two meanings that are opposite to each other. Keep that in mind. Now, notice here, there's a thing called 184b, which means referring to volume 1. This is volume 13 of this dictionary, right? Of this reference, of this encyclopedia. So volume 1, page 184. Now, this is broken into two columns, left side, right side, okay? And 184, right side column, will talk about this. So make a note, right, that things can have, the same word can have contradictory meanings. So maybe they can use a word that they say means peace, but maybe it also means war. Okay, maybe the word means love, and you look it up and it says love, but maybe it also means hate. Understand? So be careful what you're dealing with here within their language. Now they speak of the Al Bayt, literally the people of the house, the family of the Prophet. So maybe you learned of this term. So let's see. David says, imagine in Sufi rank system, there's a belt system from white belt to black belt. There actually is a ranking system. There's like 6 or 7 different levels of the Sufi. So yes, there is a ranking system. Okay, so now I know that the Al-Bayt is the family of the Prophet. Okay, so you just learned something about that. The Al-Kitab, literally the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians. Later, it was also extended to the Sabaeans, the Zoroastrians, and in India, even idolaters. Now, to learn more, you'd have to go to volume 1, page 264b. You'd have to go to volume 4, 408b. Right? I'll look up some different words later. Okay, so Erican says that word is sul. I'm not sure in what context you mean that. Okay, Bruce 6 says, okay, right. So let me just continue here. Now, the Al-Sunnah, the house of the Sunnah, that refers to the Sunnis, who are the Orthodox Muslims. To learn more, you can see there are multiple references here. Volume 1, page 267a, Volume 3, 864a, and Volume 4, page 142a. Party of Orthodox Traditionists. So they follow tradition. Okay? And related to that, you'll see another term, Al-Jama'ah, right? Related to the Al-Sunnah. So now you know that this can double for that. There will be some overlap between these as well. Let's look at the bottom of this. Akida. Okay, in theology, creed, doctrine, dogma, or article of faith. Right, now, now understand that now here's where I go to the Akida. Let's have a look at the Akida of Islam. And let's have a look at the Akida. So I'm not going to go into depth here, but look at this. This is the Akida Tahawiyah, right? These are the basic articles of faith in Islam. Just like in Christianity, you've got, let's say, the Nicene Creed. They have their own creed. We say about Allah's unity, believing by Allah's help, that Allah is one with no partners. There is nothing like him. There's nothing that can overwhelm him. Oh, David says, if there is a term for Sunni Muslims, al-Sunnah, what about the Shia? Probably Murtad. Okay, there is no God other than him, which is interesting because even Allah admits to there being other gods within the Quran, right? He's just the supreme God. And in fact, we'll look at the definition of Allah in a minute. But let's go to number 75. Now, I want you to understand, Muslims are traditionists. As this document pointed out, as this book pointed out, they're traditionists. The Sunnis are traditionists. They follow tradition. And Muslims always say Allah knows best because in their creed it says when our knowledge about something is unclear, we say Allah knows best. Notice Muslims are not original. They do copy paste tradition and they just repeat it. And this is where they are told Allah knows best. So when they say Allah knows best, they're not being wise. They're claiming, well, they're ignorant. They actually have no idea what's going on. And they have to say this whenever they're stumped, whenever they're clueless, whenever they are ignorant, they say this. Yes, David, of course they're lying about everything. There's nothing they don't lie about. Okay? Yeah, but I wanted to show you this so that you can see that all these statements, everything they say comes from some kind of tradition. So this number 75 here, okay, Allah knows best. It's not them being original. It's them just repeating what they were told from the time they were kids. What about number 74? We love the people of justice and trustworthiness and hate the people of injustice and treachery. So Veronica says, what about number 74? Seems to be a contradiction to what we saw before. We hate the people of treachery. Well, the people of justice and trustworthiness are the Muslims. The people of injustice and treachery as well, that's you. Right? And of course, Muslims who violate the creeds, who violate the Sharia, those who become people of injustice. Okay? But understand that there's a two-tier system. Islam is an apartheid system. You have your Muslims and you have the Kafir. And that's it. So Tippy Bear, that is correct. Allah knows best means I have no clue. Okay, when our knowledge is unclear, no, when I'm clueless, we say that. That is what Islam teaches and that is what they do. So understand when they say, I don't follow this, I only read what's in the Quran, well, no, they don't. You can see they repeat things that are, they repeat everything that is part of their tradition because the people of the Sunnis are traditionalists. So that was Creed. Okay, is this useful? Are you guys learning something of interest here? Bombastic, I have no idea who you are, but if you have something to contribute, please try to be smart and rational. Okay, so let's have a look at Allah, God. Okay, unique one, the creator, already to the pre-Islamic Arabs. Now, this is very, very interesting, right? That Allah was known to the pre-Islamic Arabs, and he was a different God than the one that Muhammad put forward. Allah was one of the Meccan deities, so when you see the tilde sign, this little tilde here, it refers to the word that is being discussed. Okay? And Allah was one of the Meccan deities, possibly the supreme deity. In volume 1, page 406a, we can learn some more. So let's go have a look at volume 1, page 406a, and A happens to be side A, because in the rest of these volumes, the document split into two. Allah, the unique one, the creator and lord of the judgment, polarizes the thought of Islam. He's the sole reason for its existence. Okay, fine and well. Allah was known to the pre-Islamic Arabs. He was one of the Meccan deities, so he was just another deity until Muhammad decided that he was going to be the most important of the deities. Yeah, so he's just a troll, but fine, just time him out if he's an idiot. If he's got some realistic questions, that's great. But okay, so possibly the supreme deity, not definitely, possibly, and certainly a creator God. And it mentions here is in Quran in these chapters. Okay, that's in 13, Surah 16, right? Surah 13, Ayah 16, and so on, right? He was already known by antonomasia as the god Al-Ilah. So he was known previously as Al-Ilah. The most likely etymology, another suggestion, is the Aramaic Allah. Very interesting. Now, of course, if you want, you can also go to one of the newer of the encyclopedias and actually go and do a search and then look up these terms. It'll then give you some new information, some additional, because obviously this is updated constantly. Arnold Nathaniel, learning so much. Bye, Donkey. Thank you very much. Okay, so for Allah, before Islam, as shown by archaeological sources and the Quran, see Ilah. So notice, now it's telling us, if you want to learn more, go look up Ilah. I will zoom in here so you can see this. Okay, so now we learn a bit more. Allah was known to the pre-Islamic Arabs. We now learn that. He was one of the Meccan deities, okay? And for Allah before Islam, as shown by archaeological sources and the Quran, see Ilah. Very interesting. So now you would have to go to the volume I, right? And then just look that up. Understand? So this could be very, very helpful for researching and coming back with facts, okay? Because Islam doesn't like facts. Now, we always say facts don't care about your feelings. Well, I can tell you their feelings do not care about your facts. Actually, they do. They get very, very angry about your facts. So notice, let's go on here. There's something I wanted to 46. Okay. Okay, so that's enough for me to, okay. So that's enough for me to do with Allah for the moment. But notice, you've just now seen, and Marcia, I have no idea, Veronica. So understand. So again, this gives us a reason to go look that XYZ. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Okay, let me know if I should slow down. People complain. I get this complaint a lot that I need to slow down because I go too fast. Okay, so please let me know if I need to slow down. But understand, Veronica, that now we have a reason to look up the word Ilah, and we have a reason to look up antonomasia. So you can Google that. There's always Prophet Google, okay, to learn more, because this now starts to fill in our knowledge, because Muslims will give you an answer, right? because that's what they want you to stick to. They say, no, it's this, and you believe them. And you don't realize that he's telling you only what he wants you to know so that you never, ever look outside of that. Once you look outside, you start to realize there's so much more that he's hiding, that Islam is hiding from you. Tell you what, shall we look up Ilah? Drop me a 1 in the comment and I will look up the word Ilah, okay? If it's relevant, I will look up the word Ilah. Okay? So let me know. Okay? If you give me a few ones in the comment, I will in the chat, I will. Okay, so fine. Okay. So let's look up Ilah. So I'm going to go to the relevant it's volume 3. So here comes volume 3, Ilah. So first I'm going to go here. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to search for Ilah in volume 13. Now, if you wait for a while, okay, so then we have a couple of matches. So, okay, so I'm going to look for Ilah first in volume 13. And before I go, okay, Dean Ilahi, no. Let's go back. Measure, okay, the Mughal Emperor, that's some history there. That's Ilah. Ah, here we go. Okay, so, okay. Oh, that was a lot of ones. That was a whole bunch of ones. Okay, guys, so Ilah. So let's have a look here. We have Ilah from Ilah to Ilm, okay? Ilah. The plural, so now you learn Aliha is the plural. So for instance, Akhruf, right? Take the word Akhruf. We always hear the Akhruf. Well, you have Akhruf and Harf, the singular and the plural versions. So you learn different forms of the word, and I will get into that too. Deity. In pre-Islamic poetry, Al-Ilah was an impersonal divine name, although for Christians and monotheists it denoted God by frequency of usage. Okay? Al-Ilah became Allah, and we can learn more in volume 3, page 1093b. Okay, right, is that helpful? So let's have a look at volume 3, page 1093. So Encyclopedia of Islam, volume 3. So we have to look at page 1093b. So I'm going to go to page 1100. Okay, so I'm going to have to jump ahead further. 1110. Okay, I'll go here to 1093b. So let me go find 1093 and see what we can discover. Okay, here we go. Ilah, plural, Aliha, deity, appears in pre-Islamic poetry. So the name of Allah appeared well before in pre-Islamic poetry. See this, okay, as an impersonal divine name. It just meant God, so it was not a name of anyone in particular, although preceded by the article for Christians, and so far as the poetry ascribed to them is authentic, the monotheist, Al-Ilah evidently means God. For the other poet, it means the one who is worshipped. Ah, so that's what Ilah means, the one who is worshipped. So it did not originally refer to anyone specific. Veronica says, antonomasia, substitution of a title for a proper name. Fantastic. This is the substitution of a title for a proper name. Ilah becomes Allah. Metonymy, part represents the whole. Okay, many hands make light work, hands equals person. Excellent, thanks Arnold. Right, so Al-Ilah indicates the God already mentioned, the article, so the God of whom the poet is thinking. Okay, so now we're learning a little bit about the culture, the history, and the early usage. And this use has survived to the present day, Abdalillah, okay, but Ilah without the articles seems to have been used only in the Islamic period to indicate a specific deity. So, through frequency of use, was contracted to Allah. There you go. Okay, so there you've learned something. I've learned something. Okay, so there we go. Right, so I'm going to leave this now. Oh, this is interesting. Ilah is certainly identical with the Hebrew and represents the expanded form of an element, El, common to the Semitic languages, with further references if you want to look up more. Okay, so, well, there you go. So the Basrans established no direct connection between Ilah and Allah regarding the latter either as formed spontaneously or as La from the root. Okay, blah 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 blah. Some held that Allah was a loan from Syriac or Hebrew, but most regarded the proper name Allah as a derivative, a contraction of Alillah, and endeavored to. Okay, so in other words, scholars are still debating. Scholars don't have a verifiable single view, but you can learn a great deal from looking at this. And you can find out which one is the majority view by looking at other resources that show you where the opinion lies or where the evidence lies. Okay? So, okay, was that helpful? Was very good reference to back up Allah is not Arabic word for God, nor is the same God as God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thank you very much, David. Excellent. Well said. Very, very well said. Welcome, Thunderous. Yep. Um, yeah, don't worry. You're here now, so don't stress. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, right, in learning a little bit about this. So let me just come. So let me close volume 3, okay, and let me go back to the encyclopedia. So now we've done ELAS, and I'm going to continue. So 278. Okay, so that was there. ELA, nothing further. I'm going to the next page. Right. So understand, I'm not going to touch too deeply on any one thing. I don't want to, but I want to show you how this is such a useful resource. Imam. Imam is just a prayer leader, but he's also the leader in war. So he's just the prayer leader. See, so be careful not to believe everything you are told. Okay? Check. Okay? As Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. With Islam, don't trust, distrust, and verify. Okay? So, Imam, a leader of the official prayer rituals, the Salat, also known as the leader of in war. So maybe he sends people out to stab people on London Bridge. You never know. Okay. Then of course you have Imam al-Difa, okay, an Imam living in secrecy. Al-Kitman, okay, who will defend the Muslims in misfortune. Now, understand now, this does refer here to the Badia, blah, blah. Understand this may be the case, but what happens is an example, and a use case of something could be transferred into tradition and thus used much more broadly. They may be referring to a specific first instance, and then that idea could have become part of their tradition. Understand? So don't assume that when they say it was only for that instance, only at that time, only this event. Don't assume that, because I've come across outright lies in this encyclopedia. Like in volume 10, there was one thing that got, it was just like egregious. Egregious. I have no idea how they allowed that to slip through the editors. So let me check some comments. It said that the ruler was the leader in war. Is that really the same as the imam? Well, it says so right here, imam. Okay? The imam, you see the tilde here? You see this tilde? The tilde refers to, when you see the tilde, it's always referring to the word being discussed. Tilde, leader in war. Okay? So try to, when possible, double and triple check. Okay? Imaman, in mysticism, again, we come to this mysticism. The two assistants of the Qutb. Qutb, Sayyid Qutb, very interesting. The second category in the hierarchy of saints. There's your, these are the second category in the hierarchy of saints. Well, if they're the lower category, then they're like your yellow belts, buddy, as we were discussing earlier. Thunderous One says, always watch Lloyd's material several times. Thank you for promoting it. Guys, if you like this, please give me a like, right? Please make Jihad beat the like button blue and share this as well, okay? Please. Yeah, okay, so Imam, the Imamate, supreme leadership of the Muslim community. So, hierarchy of saints. Let's move on from here. Okay, so now, okay, we've just covered that. Let me continue down here to the next. Okay. Al-Insan al-Kamil. In mysticism, the concept of the perfect man. In mysticism, Al-Insan al-Kamil, in mysticism, the concept of the perfect man. Who is the perfect man? Muhammad. But let's have a quick look at that and go back to this word Qutb and see what we can learn from that. Okay, let's see. David says Imam is the leader in war. What about Caliph? The Caliph is also the leader, but the Caliph is like the supreme leader. Okay, the Caliph is the supreme leader. So, but the Caliph is the Imam. He's an Imam. He's a prayer leader. He's a leader in war. But you'll have the Caliph and then sub-leaders, right? Which one is higher? Both are equal. Perhaps the encyclopedia may explain more. Right. Okay, yeah, the caliph is yeah, the imam generally local. Tippy Bear hit the like button lightly with a toothbrush. Thank you very much. Okay, so now this kutub. Let's have a look at this kutub term. There might be something to be discovered there. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we can find. Kutub. Okay, now remember the Al-Insan al-Kamil is the perfect man, and kutub. In mysticism, kutub may have any of the following meanings, all carrying the idea of vicarship. Now understand, there's a whole bunch of meanings. So one Islamic word can have at least three meanings. It could have a dozen meanings, right? Kutub, or the perfect man, al-insan al-kamil, around whom the spheres of being evolve. What does that mean? I have no idea. It's all very mystic and occult. But notice, it is upon whom the Muhammadan reality, which is the hidden side of his own reality, irradiates. Okay? And he reaches a certain stage of mystical perfection. He is then granted permission by his spiritual master to initiate novices and guide them on the mystical path. Because, again, they're referring here to the Sufis. The Qutb is the perfect man. Think of the very famous Pakistani Syed Qutb, highly influential Islamic writer of the previous century, right? So the Muhammadan reality, what is that? Well, I've discussed that in other videos. It's the light of Muhammad. It is the reality of Muhammad, is the ultimate. You see, Islam is the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, the deen ul haq. And Muhammad is the essence, the substance of the truth. Because he's made out of Muhammad is made out of Allah's light. And what happens is, you see, Muhammad is Allah on earth, right? Muhammad's essence placed on earth. Muhammad is a piece of Allah. Allah took a piece out of himself, made Muhammad, placed that light, that essence on earth. That is connected to the companions to their followers, from the followers to the imams, down that chain, that isnad chain, right? Down to the imam, down to you. And you are able to access the perfect, ultimate, absolute reality by doing your occult rituals and achieving mystical perfection, and then you will find the hidden knowledge, the gnosis. Right. Understand, I've covered some of this in previous shows, but understand the connections here. Okay, so now you know a little bit about not only Muhammad can be perfect, but certain imams can become perfect too. If you're a Sufi, you can become perfect. Right. So Yeshua is Yahweh. So Kutub is mystical perfection, the other side of Momo. Yeah, look, make of that what you will. Understand, now you're going to have to go into volume 4, sorry, page 950, and volume 10, page 246. Among the Bektashi, happen to be Sufis, Kutub refers to a rank of spiritual achievement attained only by those who have been ordained as Baba. Okay, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not going to go into any depth in any one thing here. Okay, angels are Nur, Muhammad is Nur. Muhammad and Allah are a piece of Satan, makes sense. Well, Tippy, you said it. Okay, so understand. So let's continue here without me going. Right. Look, there's loads of words. I just grabbed a few that I thought would be interesting. Khawas al-Quran, the art of drawing prognostications from verses of the Quran to which beneficial effects are attributed. That just went. Okay, whatever that meant. But notice the science of Khawas, ilm al-Khawas here. The knowledge of the natural properties of the letters based on alchemy. So let me see, there's a science in Islam. Dzień dobry, Marek. Dobry wieczór, Marek. So within the science of knowing the Quran, you have the knowledge of the natural properties of the letters based on alchemy. Okay, because within Islam there's a form of gematria as well, which is very, very interesting. Now that's odd. So why we're not talking about this and openly discussing this if it is within the single most expensive major Islamic resource used in universities, Islamic universities around the world? Well, so let me see. So knowledge of the Quran, okay, the knowledge of the letters, the properties of the letters based on alchemy. So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at the word ahruf. You may have heard of the word ahruf. So let's have a quick look at the word ahruf. Now I'm searching. So here we go. Okay, let's start on the top of the page here. Harb. So remember, later on I have to go back to where I was. But harb means war. Harbi, al-harb, the house of war. A non-Muslim from, okay, sorry, the al-harb, the people of war. A non-Muslim from the house of war. Okay, well, okay, haram, everything that is forbidden. But let's go to harf. This is very important. Harf. Plural, huruf, or achruf. So that word harf has plurals, huruf and achruf, meaning letter of the alphabet. Fantastic. Also meaning word. So achruf, huruf, harf means alphabet, word, as discussed in volume 3, page 204. In grammar, it's a phoneme, and notice it tells us it is also a Quranic reading or a dialect, which will be discussed in volume 3, 205b. So yes, it is a word, it is a letter, it is a dialect. However, Islamic words can have several meanings. This one has multiple meanings. Yeshua says alchemy, medieval form of chemistry. Eva, thank you. Your Polish accent, thank you. So, yeah, I should be doing more Polish lessons as of next week, right? Because, man, my Polish is weak. So, let's have a look. Harf ila, a weak consonant, blah, blah. But let's ignore this. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So far, we have 11 meanings of the word harf or akhruf, 11 different meanings. Let's look at the main meaning, the one that Muslims always somehow forget to tell you, the one they just couldn't. It's 35,000 euros. I could buy a new server. Dude, 35,000 euros, yeah, for this. So, the Arabic miracle of words having 10 plus meanings when in trouble. It's a great trump card. However, earlier, Thunderous, I showed that an Arabic word can have two meanings that are opposites of each other. So the word could mean love, and it could also mean hate. The word could mean strike, and it could also mean touch. Or the word could mean kill and also feed, or something, or like. So Arabic words can mean totally opposite things. One word can have two meanings that are complete opposites. So understand. But let's look at the very, very important, in fact, the longest, deepest, most in-depth treatment in the encyclopedia, to my knowledge, is of this, the proper, full meaning of what akhruf means. The science of akhruf, right? Onomatomancy, a magical practice based on the occult properties of the letters of the alphabet and of the divine and angelic names which they form. Hello, Just Janice. So understand, this is the meaning they hide from you. This is why Yasser Qadi, no one knows what it means. It's like, oh, we don't know, dude. It's like, I don't know. Allah knows best. Crap. Excuse my French, but that's not true. Because the proper and full and most detailed meaning is word magic. You would know it as gematria within Jewish magic, but Islam has its own form of that, and it's onomatomancy. So occult properties of letters of the alphabet. Superstitions, no, it's magical practice. Because, you see, people do not realize and do not know Islam is divided into the Sharia and the Hakika, right? The ultimate reality, right? The religious side, but the religious side of Islam is actually occult mysticism, complete with magical practices, and you have the law. So the Sharia that we know is only the one side of Islam, that your average lay Muslim knows. There's only one side of Islam. It is just the law, the rules. Follow the rules and shut up. The other side is reserved only for the major scholars, for the highest elite level of scholars. And that is where they use magical practices to connect them through all the scholars to Muhammad and become part of the ultimate reality, to commune with God that way. Understand that? So, and this, we're going to go into this. I'm going to go to volume 3, 595b, and we'll learn a little bit about this. But this is what akhruf really means. Do not be fooled. I'm sorry, but most apologists refuse to look at these sources. This is its actual meaning, and it's uncomfortable for them to go where they're just going downstream with the stream, and they're being just led down the garden path. So Qadi lies and says there's 35 to 40 meanings for akhruf. Why doesn't he show us a resource that says that? Why doesn't he show us the Lisan al-Arab? The Lisan al-Arab is the premier Arabic dictionary. Why doesn't he show us that and say, look, here's the references? Why doesn't he show us a major resource like this? Allah knows best, and Lloyd doesn't speak French. No, he does not. So, let's see. Okay, Aleph Moon that start. Okay, so this Alif Mim Noon Lam that start 20. They are occultism. Occultism. Yes, they are. In fact, the Bektashis were mentioned earlier. Now, I will do this in another show, but the Bektashis claim that all of these Alif, Noon, Lam, all of these words, these unknown words that no one knows what they are, that start these phrases, they are occult rituals. They are mantras you repeat to achieve spiritual perfection, to make you into the perfect man, to connect you to the ultimate reality. Okay? Uthman commanded the scribes, Rickenbacker von Braun says, but Uthman commanded the scribes to write the Quran in one dialect, the Quraysh, but only if they disagreed on a matter. So it's a complete mess. I mean, yes, it is a total mess. So what happened to the other six dialects, since the total is... That's just a story, dude. Don't believe it. It's just a story. It's just a cover story. I don't believe everything I read, right? And absolutely don't forget, Muslims are required to lie to you. It is compulsory in Islam for them to lie to you. Why would you believe people that are supposed to lie to you? I certainly wouldn't. So let's go to volume 3, page 595b. So let me bring up volume 3. And Bob is now your uncle, and we're going to go to page 595b. So I'm going to go to 615, I think. Hopefully that will make it. 583. I missed it. Okay, so I'm going to go to 630 here in the PDF reader. And close enough. 595b. So let's have a look. What do we learn if we go into the encyclopedia on Ahruf? And here we are. Huruf. Ilm al-Huruf, the science of letters. Fantastic. Thank you. The science of letters. Okay. And sorry, Rickenbacker. I know it's just the story. I was being sarcastic. Sorry, man. My bad. I get so focused and serious. Okay, so the PDF is not rendering properly with all my... oh, there we go. The science of letters. It's a branch which was originally concerned with onomatomancy in the strict sense, but among some esoteric sects it became a magical practice. To such an extent that Ibn Khaldun, in the Muqaddimah, this is a giant within the scholarship of Islam. Ibn Khaldun is a huge player. Okay, he gave it the name of Samiya, which is usually reserved for white magic. Oh, it's only white magic. Don't worry about it. Again, don't believe everything you read. Okay, it is based on the occult properties of the letters of the alphabet and of the divine and angelic names which they form. Right? You're calling up angels, not demons. No, no, no. You wouldn't do that. You're just calling up angels. Three basic elements are involved in onomatomantic interpretation: arithmomancy or gematria. Okay, Hisab al-Jumal. So there's a term you can look up. According to Ibn Khaldun, okay, so in other words, according to one of their major scholars, all the stuff is based on alchemy and astrological conjunctions known as kiranat. So in other words, you're looking at the occult. Okay, the entire of Islam is just a silly fairy tale, a sadly dangerous and a very dangerous one. White magic, David, yes, magic is magic. Okay, now understand, this is what Ahruf means. And if you dig deeper into this, it gets really dark and really ugly. Now, I'm one person. Okay, I'm a little boy from Africa who learned how to read. Why is it that scholars who have access to this material don't just look up the word Ahruf and discover, oh, it actually means magic? Okay, the 28 letters of the Arabic alphabet are divided into 4 categories, each of 7 letters, corresponding to the 4 basic elements. We give you the classification favored. Okay, fire, air, water, and earth. Fire, air, water, and earth. Okay, fire, air, water, and earth. Now, Muslims will tell you, and they have told me, oh, that's an encyclopedia, it's not in the Quran, it's wrong. Okay, well, there's a lot of things not in the Quran. Okay, there's a lot of things not in the Quran that they follow. So this is not in the Quran. Well, whatever. Now, how did the finest academics in the world, including Islamic scholars, including Muslim scholars, how did they come up with all this nonsense? How did they get it so wrong? Understand? This stuff needs to be questioned. This needs to be looked at. This needs to be examined because Islam is an occult magical practice based on Gnostic practice. It's an amalgamation of a bunch of occult Gnostic practices. So notice you got the seven groups are the fire letters, the air letters, the water letters, and the earth letters. It's a kind of transposition, blah, blah, blah. And you have lunar and you have solar letters. So Dragon says, so much great information. No, you're welcome. Thank you, Dragon. Thanks for the support. No wonder in Islam is black magic. Egypt, Morocco is top for black. Yes, understand. The Quran is a text that they use to run mantras. It's not meant to make sense. People say the Quran doesn't make sense. It's not meant to. Roughly 20% of the Quran is just gibberish. People say it's gibberish. Now, certainly you can trace the original underlying text to Syriac Christian invocations. Like these were the kind of hymns and psalms you sing in church. Okay, I can't remember the words right now, right? But Muslims have taken this and corrupted it so that when they say these rhythmical incantations, it takes them into a state of a higher mental state, and then they commune with Allah. They enter His throne and they go through the veils. They pierce the veils. Fire, air, water, earth is Zoroastrianism. Yes, thunderous. Now look, understand, I'm going way off the standard Islamic narrative. Now, Yasir Qadi said the standard Islamic narrative has holes in it. What he meant was it's absolute nonsense. It's bull poop, okay? It's bovine poop. And yet, everyone's still going, well, we need to stick with the standard narrative. No. If the standard Islamic narrative is not true, then what is true? Maybe we need to look elsewhere, okay? So let me see. Arithmomancy is associated with the Chaldeans, Babylon. Yes, because Islam says it is a Gnostic religion. I will show that in a minute, just for the heck of it then. So understand, so you've got, let's call it Captain Prophet. So yeah, look, you've got Zoroastrianism, you're going to have Hinduism, you're going to have little touches of everything, including old Achrif, so including from the Jews who learned it from the Chaldeans and the Canaanites and the Babylonians and all that. The literature of Huruf developed in two opposite directions. The first consists of combining letters to obtain a whole possessing particular properties which are supposed to lead to the required result, divination or magical effect. The second is the same as the first, consists of splitting up names to which an esoteric character is attached. So the one is creating, the other one is breaking apart. Okay, I'll finish here. So you're looking at astrological and theurgical factors. If I recall, theurgical factors means magical factors where you call up a being. Okay, can someone please look up theurgical and tell me what that means? Actually, I'll do it as well. It's a form of magic. Theurgical, not Poland. Let's have a look. Pertaining to magic. Okay, pertaining to magic. Describes the practice of rituals. Let's go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is often wrong, but okay, maybe this time it'll tell us something. Theurgy. Let's have a look here. Theurgy is a power higher than all human wisdom, embracing the blessings of the divination, the purifying powers of initiation, and divine possession. Interesting. Okay. One could reach God in an ascent up the scale of creation made possible by a rigorous course of prayer, fasting, and devotional preparation. Okay, there you go. Theurgy, a type of magic, consists of magical practices performed to evoke spirits in order to see them or know them, in order to influence them, for by forcing them to animate a statue, to inhabit a human being, such as a medium, or to disclose mysteries. I didn't write that, but understand this is Islam. This is pure Islam. This is true Islam, the one they hide from you. Muhammad was a mystic. The scholars believe Muhammad was a mystic. He found the secret. So he wasn't just a caravan robber, murder, rapist. He was also a mystic. Okay? So divine or supernatural intervention, magic performed with spirits. Yes, Veronica. Understand, Islam is ugly. It's filthy. This is genuine Islam. It's discussed all over their books, but people miss this. They seem to want to say that it's just like Christianity. No, it's not. The Quran doesn't stand alone. We know this, right? They need all this other stuff. They do all this other stuff, and they hide it. So, Ever says, always laugh when they say about jinns and strange things what we don't have in Christianity are very close to shaitan. Yeah. So understand, I'm probably saying things that are generally not commonly considered normal, but understand this is all over the Islamic scripts. To understand the mystery of numbers is to penetrate that of the divine intelligence. To understand the mystery of ahruf or huruf is to penetrate the Holy Spirit. That's what they believe. Because they want to commune with God, they believe that they can become one with God. Where's the trust in God? Exactly. But what are you guys getting from this, right? What are you understanding from this? Actually, I'm going to find one more resource that I need to show you that I have showed you all before, okay? But I'm going to want to show you one more thing. So if you'll give me a minute to look up a document, and I will end shortly, and I'll do another part another day, okay? Um, okay, I'm going to bring up a text. There we go. Thank you for loading. Okay, so sorry, John Doe. Yeah, yeah, guys. I don't like to go too long. People complain that it gets too long. So, so can you understand how these things all connect? How they are hints. They don't come out and say it, but they are hints everywhere. Understand these little words that you look up that word, it means something, and it has another word, and you look up that, and eventually you end up opening up this Pandora's box of information. Okay. So these are all things, Veronica says, all these things are an attempt of manipulating the divine. Yes, yes, yes. Understand? So now I want you to know this scholar here, Ghazali, is the number one scholar in Islam after Muhammad himself. Okay? After him come the four founders of the four schools. All right? That's Hanafi, Hanbali, Shafi, and Maliki. Okay? But let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Let's look for the word Illuminati in his book. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so Ghazali talks about the Sufis as the ones who are, see, because they found the true light. Okay, so what happens is, see, the Amr, the word of command, the Amr of Islam, we can look up that word as well. So Islam contains much that is obscure and too difficult for most minds because most Muslims are too stupid, according to the scholars, and so are you, by the way. And you see, so only the scholars, the elite, can learn this because they've got the brains. They've got special knowledge. You see, and he says here that the perfect Illuminati, the perfect Illuminati. Who are the perfect Illuminati in Islam? Well, the Sufis. Who are the elite within the Islamic scholarly circles? The Sufis. Who are the saints of Islam? The Sufis. Who are the Illuminati? The Sufis. Understand? This is from the top scholar in Islam, right? After Muhammad himself. They perceive that Al-Mutta, the obeyed one, is not more than the highest other than absolute deity, and is related. So basically, Muhammad is related to Allah the way the sun is a reflection of Allah's essential light. So Muhammad is like the sun of Allah. Okay, he's a reflection of Allah's light. Muhammad's greatness, his awesomeness, too difficult for most minds. Yeah, that's you. Now, okay, so I'm going to pause here for a moment. So guys, I'll leave it here for the moment. Okay, so we have been through, so so what have you taken away? Okay, hopefully you've understood there's a lot more to Islam than Muslims will tell you. They don't want you to know. You need to look beyond what they tell you. Muslim tells others to beware of the Illuminati, while in Islam there is, well, yeah, okay. Um, there's a lot more. We can go into many more. Somatic, they seem to think they can gain spiritual power by what? Yes, they want spiritual power. They believe they can perfect themselves. They believe they can perfect themselves, and it's insane. It's a whole bunch of magic. It's a whole bunch of magical practices. You see, because Hakika, this is the other side of Islam that non-Muslims and of course even your lower lay Muslims are not allowed access to. This knowledge is secret only to the scholars, the Sufi scholars. Haqaiq, reality, essence, truth. Okay? The ontological meaning is the nature or essential reality. The logical meaning is the truth, which is the exact conception of the thing, the exact conception of the truth, of reality. It's established in the intelligence because only they are smart enough, only their intelligence can conceive the exact, total 100% truth. In mysticism, Hakika is the profound reality to which only experience of union with God opens the way. So in other words, they can commune with Allah, perfect themselves, commune with Allah, and they will know the truth, the perfect truth. Al-Haqiqa al-Muhammadiyya, remember they said of the Muhammadan reality, is the universal rational principles through which divine knowledge is transmitted to all prophets and saints, called the Ruh Muhammad, the Muhammadan reality, the spirit of Muhammad. The Ruh is the Holy Spirit. So understand, and it's also the Haqaiq is the term for secret philosophical doctrines. Oh, the ninth degree in the Sufi hierarchical order of saints. There's at least 9 degrees, David, just so you know. And yeah, haq, something right, true, just, real, established fact, reality. Okay? So guys, Sufi, Sophia, yes, Sufis, they call themselves Sufists. The Sufis call themselves Sufists. They're sophists. Stinks of Satan. So guys, John Doe, absolutely brilliant, and your style of teaching is pure matter. Thank you. Islam is predicated on occultism. Sorry, yes, Thunderous, correct. We can go into this when I have the opportunity to appear in your show. So yeah, Thunderous will hopefully appear in my show soon. We're only a month overdue at this point. Anything not the truth that sets you free is by implication occultism by default. Correct. Thank you for stating that, Thunderous. So guys, any questions? We'll do one more thing before I sign off. Okay? I'm going to go into the reliance of the traveler. I'm going to go to the beginning. I'm going to look up the letters G-N-O-S. And notice here I've got gnosis 18 times, okay? Gnostics. Okay? Gnostic 5 times. Gnostics 3 times, and Gnostic with an apostrophe 1 time. So let's look up gnosis, because Islam claims to be the pure religion. It came completely fresh and new and didn't plagiarize anyone or anything, except the scholars of Islam explicitly state that they are Gnostics. They explicitly state that Islam is Gnosticism. And if you go on YouTube, you will find hundreds of videos where the scholars openly talk about practicing Gnosticism. Gnosticism was the greatest threat the church faced in its first 500 years. Islam is Gnosticism. It never stopped. Now, let's see some questions. Michael on it falls flat. The Buddhists believe the same, constructing their sand paintings to conquer the spiritual realm of the region. Okay. Yeah. In their own way, both the Sufis and the Baha'i faith tried to rescue people from the hypocrisy of Islam. Didn't work. Yeah. No, the Sufis are Muslims. No, you must understand. People will lie to you, Gabriel, about Sufism, about the Sufis. The Sufis, first and foremost, must completely 100% be Sharia compliant. So the normal standard rules of Islam apply to them as well. They need to be perfectly compliant. Only then can they approach the Hakika, the spiritual side of Islam, right? The religious side of Islam, the occult. Only then. But notice here, Gnosis is mentioned 28 times in this manual, in this Sharia manual, and it's mentioned far more in others. Okay? Gnosis, let's have a look. Here the scholars of Islam says others, all those dimwits that came before us, all claim to have attained to gnosis and contemplative knowledge of divine, to have reached nearness to Allah. But they say no, those guys were a bunch of twats. They were a bunch of idiots. We, the Islamic scholars, we have attained to gnosis. See, the scholars of Islam, we have found the gnosis. Islam is Gnosticism. It is Gnostic. They've opened the door of gnosis. They've entered through the door of gnosis. They've gone through the gnosis. They gnosis. The marifah. Now understand, they don't mean gnosis as the Greeks in just general knowledge. No, they mean Gnosticism the way that the church fought Gnosticism as a massive heresy back in the day. So guys, I'll end off here. I hope this was helpful. Okay, if you do like this, again, for those who donated, thank you very much. I really appreciate the contributions. It makes a difference. Thank you very, very much. Please like, guys, share. Let people know about this. Gnosis, nonsense. Yeah, they do sound very similar. That is true. Okay, so guys, if this was helpful, please tell others about this. Watch it again. Take your time. All links in the description. Volumes 1 to 12, I need to link those. I'll make a comment with the links to those, okay, where you can find them. But just looking through volume 13, the index and the reliance, you're going to find a ton of stuff. So understand there's a lot more going on here. I skipped a couple of things like Qatl, talking about I wanted to go into depth on some other things, but guys, I will do this again. And Christians fought Gnosticism successfully, yeah. But and Thunder says, "Thank you, Lloyd, as per usual." Yeah, we'll speak Friday if we can fix if we can fix the time. Yep. Rickenback says, "Thank you." So guys, yeah. So Thunderous will speak. Um, Yeshua, thanks for all the help and assistance. So guys, yeah, on Thursday I will be on with Adam Seeker again at I think it's 10 p.m. my time, which is Poland, Central European time, which should be 8 p.m. UK time. I'll be on with Adam Seeker. I'll be doing part two of Paul. I've also been expanding and working on my presentation on Paul to show exactly the early history from the 7th century, the 8th century, how Muslims started and why they started attacking Paul specifically. Right, so I've gone through that, and I'm also actually still working on expanding and doing further research into this. And what upsets me, Western scholars know about the lies that the Islamic scholars and the sheer falsehoods they were telling, right? The sheer propaganda they were writing. I forgot to mention how an early caliph actually set up a propaganda division to refute. It was in terms of the word debate, okay? An early caliph actually set up a division where he paid people to write refutations. Remember, Muslims always say, "I refuted you." Well, because the whole point of that debate format that I mentioned, that adab, al-ajal or jadal, is designed to refute others. And an early caliph actually set up he paid a bunch of people to write refutations. And they weren't necessarily designed to be true, they were just designed to win, to convince. And, but we'll do that another time. So, yeah, guys, please let people know. And also, I'm over 2,000. Okay, so next time, guys. So, what happens is drop your words that you need in the comment section. And, and okay, and hopefully we can Islamic terms. So, okay, so by the way, so next time, and I will look through. So, there's a bunch of terms that I was given by people: fitna, abrogation, dawah, jihad, zakat, nikah. I actually want to do a whole show just on zakat. Okay, nikah, mutta, zina, shirk, exorcism, ruhiyah, jinns, dimma, dhimmis, caliphate. I have a huge show on this. I have a couple hours on this, as far more than you've ever wanted to know. All of these terms, and I will look through all of these terms. We'll go through them next time. All right? They write refutation, but they refuted nothing, and that is a fact. Okay, guys, so till next time, Western scholars are financed by Saudi. Yes, exactly. Scholars tend to agree with whoever's financing them, so no wonder. Yeah, these scholars know this stuff. They wrote this stuff, but why don't they just? Upsets me. It really upsets me. You know. So, yeah, man. Yeah. So, guys, make this public. Tell people, show people, talk to people. You've got the resources, and change the debate, change the discussion. Don't fall for their tricks. Take this knowledge and make them deal with this, because we've been going round and round in stupid circles. Quran Hadith, Quran Hadith. The Quran is not the ultimate authority in Islam. It is not. The Quran is a waste of your time. Okay? The Hadith are not the ultimate authority in Islam. They're a waste of your time. The Sharia, Ijma, the consensus, found in the Sharia and the Fiqh. This is the ultimate authority. Okay? So hopefully I've given you a key to unlock all this. Please use it. And guys, end with a prayer. I'm not the very best at praying, but um, Lord, we pray for wisdom, pray for guidance, we pray for courage. Okay? Because we need courage if we're going to step out with this and fight. Okay? We have a world that we need to protect and win. We have families. We can't allow darkness to take over. Lies. Islam is all about lies. So guys, yeah, pray for courage, right? And yeah, use this knowledge, change the conversation. Change the conversation. Don't let Muslims fool you. Take this information out there and make them answer to this, and let the rest of the world know. Let all those other apologists know that, man, they're missing so much that they should be talking about. Okay, so God bless, right, guys? All the best, everyone, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, see you on Thursday. Bye bye.